Okay, people. So today I'm joined by Guy Trevellyan. We're here to talk about his new award-winning short, Plastic Surgery. Guy, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today, man?
Doing very, very well. Thank you so much, Kevin, for having me on. And yeah, can't complain. Weather's great. Shooting my next film in 2 weeks, so yeah, it's pretty good. We're kind of going full throttle, So yeah, really excited.
Awesome. Is that the act of learning?
That is the act of learning. Yes, yeah. So we're shooting that in 2 weeks' time, which is yeah, really, really exciting. Just getting all the final pieces together. But we had all the cast fittings, the costumes, and everything this week, so everything's starting to become a bit more real, which is always
Nice.
nice.
Okay, awesome, awesome. How long is that shoot going for?
So that's a 5-day shoot, and that will be about 15 to 20 minutes short. Another short that we're doing. But yeah, again, similar with plastic surgery. Again, it's charity backed. This one as well by two charities. It's all about undiagnosed dyslexia, which I have. So it's all very much linked to my personal life growing up, and yeah, it's a much more personal story than plastic surgery maybe. But
Hmm.
plastic surgery is again one of my main things I love doing is making content and making films and cinematic narratives around the environment and linking that to genre filmmaking, and if you can link environmental and horror, they just go so well together because the
Hmm.
reality is pretty horrific anyway. So you don't need much writing to add horror to the environment, that's for sure.
Well, especially when because like a lot of times the horror, something gets exposed that people have known about for ages, and then it's out in the world, and it's just like, yo, what? How did you not tell us? And
Yeah,
and then you find out that is the case with plastics,
yeah,
things
yeah.
such as that, which is just crazy.
It's a scary reality, and I think we still haven't really scratched the surface of what it could do to our. We've identified its risk to our health, and it's with certain studies like the British Heart Foundation, which looked at the microplastics surrounding our heart and our arteries, which cause
Mm,
blood clotting, which increases heart risk, heart disease. In terms of even in sperm count and testosterone levels, and it's affecting birth rates, and there's a lot of hidden unknowns as well, which is really scary. So I mean, when I started researching for the project, this one needed a lot of research because I mean,
mm,
I'm not a doctor, so I don't necessarily know the medical lingo. And whenever I take on a project, you've kind of got to just really dive into the research and make sure that you're as knowledgeable as you can be. And so it included a lot of doctors and nurses reading the script and feedbacking on the script, and going out to hospitals and seeing how particular surgeries are operated, and getting lots of feedback, having a medical advisor on set with us, to really enhance the script in that way.
yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Um, how did the project, come about then, being charity backed and all of that?
Yeah, so my sister used to work for a company called the Ocean Agency, which is a not-for-profit, and they look at the effects of global warming
Mm,
on coral reefs around the world, mainly marine life coral reefs. And she worked for them, which was kind of my insight into the underwater world was through my sister. She's also a master diver, so she kind of got me into that and hooked me into diving and scuba diving, and which is just incredible. And so I just fell in love with this kind of underwater world. And when I started to learn about our effects on the environment, our effects on marine life, coral reefs, I started to do research surrounding that. And one of the biggest things that kept popping up was plastic pollution. And then just out of pure chance because I wrote it during COVID. So I definitely had disease on my mind, infection, disease. I wanted to do something like that. And then I watched it, and this amazing short film, which I don't think many people know about necessarily, but it's by one of the greatest directors living. Denis Villeneuve did a short film called The Next Floor, which is a metaphorical piece about how it follows this group of very overweight, obese men and women eating endangered animals and species around a table, and the waiting staff are serving them. They represent Mother Nature, and every time they eat too much, they break through the floor to the next floor, and the waiting staff, the orchestra, the butlers have to race down the stairs to keep up with them. So it's all about how Mother Nature can't keep up with our consumption of the natural world. And it's a brilliant metaphorical piece. It's really striking, really inventive. So I knew that because Denny had done that, that there was a window to do a kind of metaphorical piece on plastic pollution and and how I could flip that and turn that into this body horror that ended up being plastic surgery.
Right. Yeah, like, during the pandemic, it did feel like that was the perfect time for the government to start making changes around health, and they did not, which was kind of bonkers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's very like, I mean, there was in terms of plastic pollution as well. I think it's very much there is a lot out there that you can do to change things in your personal life at home, and there is a lot of things that you can buy, like water filters are probably the biggest one that's changing at the moment. Clearing microplastics out of our fresh, out of our taps and stuff, and the technology behind that is getting better and better, which is really, really exciting. So we've installed one at our house, one of these filters that filters out all the microplastics and everything, and because it's a very scary reality, and I think that's what we wanted to capture in plastic surgery. We didn't sometimes a lot of people are where's the hope, where's the and look, the hope comes, there is hope, of course there's hope, but for people to actually make a change, and for people to really be moved to make that change, you have to be kind of warned a little bit and a little bit struck by the imagery. And if you just reveal the hope at the end of a film, you'll probably more likely find that people are just not going to bother making any changes, because they're like, oh, the hope's there, cool, the work's being done. Where the reality is that we do need to make changes. Ideally people make change if they can and they have the means to, but so that was definitely something that we found very interesting from people watching the film. That they loved that it kind of didn't have this message at the end, which a lot of films do, this kind of bring it back to hope and everything's going to be all right, because is it? We don't know.
Well, I mean, look, when anything is attached to big organizations, it's hard to believe that they will try to make a proper difference. There's a film, oh God, maybe 10 years ago, maybe a bit less. I think it was Blackwater. I think Mark Ruffalo was in it as a lawyer.
Oh yeah,
about the Teflon.
Deep Water or something.
I can't. Yeah, but yes, it was about that. And after all those years of fighting, he won the case. And then they refused to pay.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing you can do. If they just say, nah, not paying it, what's anyone gonna do? And that's the problem, right? So you can go, there is a way to fix it, but if an organization is just like, fuck you, What's gonna happen? So, like, showing, yes, and we can, the hope is this. It's just like, I mean, it could be, but it doesn't mean we're gonna get there. And
Yeah.
especially, it doesn't mean we're gonna get there unless an exorbitant amount of pressure is put upon the
Mm.
people controlling this shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only way things will
It's
change.
it's a kind of dual responsibility, really. It's a
Mm,
responsibility of individuals within the means to, plus organizations, government, to really make a change, because the vast majority of people, I don't even know the statistic actually off my head, but I'm sure it's over 90% of people in the world who don't have access to clean drinking water.
yeah,
And that's the case where governments and organizations have to make a change, and have to really allow for people to have plastic free alternatives, recycling, all these different things, which doesn't really exist in most parts of the world. Recycling doesn't even exist.
no,
um and it's a kind of dual responsibility. But individuals, shouldn't feel guilty, because a lot of the time it's not about guilt at all, really. Because I guess at the end of the day, everyone is really guilty. I'm guilty of 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 still, occasionally using plastic items because of there isn't another option. Like, even the annoying thing with in London, they've now kind of reversed. They used to have this amazing program where in all the stadiums and stuff, when you went to see a
mm,
sports game, they gave you a reusable cup. And it was an extra £1 for the cup. You could either keep it,
yeah,
or you could give it back at the end,
return it. Yeah,
and get your £1 back. But then they've now reversed that, and they got rid of it because I think a child or someone got injured trying to collect cups and broke their leg. So
hmm,
then lawsuit, and now it's all gone back in time, and now we've got all these plastic cups again. So now I just don't. I tend to just not drink or at these stadiums events, because I just can't. Or even at pubs, when you just want to be served from a glass, but because London pubs, there's hundreds of people there, they've run out of their glassware, so they just start to hand out plastic. And it's a real battle. Someone almost needs to design, like people have keep cups and water bottles. Someone needs to
mm,
design kind of pop-up pint glass or something, pop-up glass that you could just slip in your pocket and take with you to the pub, or
yeah.
take
I
you to
think
the
I think there are those, but I think a lot of times they're plastic.
yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? I think that's and the other problem is a lot of times with events is
Yeah,
I've been doing a bit of hospitality work, and on certain nights, well, I say certain nights, if it's an urban night, right?
yeah,
If there's a black artist, they get rid of all the glassware,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
it's plastic. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah,
just like you have things like that, but then it's also just the affordability,
yeah, yeah,
because you can buy let's say a six pack of Evian water.
yeah,
The glass version is like maybe to say £10 more.
yeah, yeah,
And it's just like, if you're not making a lot of money,
mm,
it's like, do I buy the glass pack, or can I use that extra money to buy,
yeah,
food?
yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah,
So you're in that position of, what do I do? I
yeah,
know
yeah,
it isn't
yeah,
necessarily the best, but
yeah.
on the budget,
Mm.
you
It's
know?
interesting. Also, it's just the scary thing is that it's just everywhere. I mean, I look at
Mm,
the supermarkets, and supermarkets are probably the worst. And I
yeah.
and I and I feel like someone, I mean, I really don't understand why supermarkets still haven't really clocked on to different methods of packaging, because you still go to even some of the big ones in the UK. Everything is double coated in plastic. You've got your plastic tray which holds the food, the plastic outer, the plastic label. It's just too much. I just don't.
Mm,
I still don't understand where that's changed. But I know that we introduced lots of single-use plastic being taken out of circulation. So now you have like paper straws here. But I think in America they've now reintroduced plastic straws, haven't they?
I
I think after Trump
feel they
reintroduced.
have. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that some of the times the problem is like a big complaint, I think, a lot of the times with some of the straws, the non-plastic straws, is they just kind of fall apart,
Yeah.
right? And now you can get ones that are a lot better, but it's the cost, right?
Yeah.
It's the cost of it. So it's just like organizations are just like,
Mm.
man, do we want to pay all of this money? You know what I mean? When our
Yeah.
overheads are this, if we just stick with the plastic,
It's
or we
interesting
buy.
though, isn't it, what you said there about like that they fall apart, because it's again what I guess, what do you term single use? Because
Mm,
again, they to fall apart. Like I think that was what I found quite funny about Trump's quote saying they exploded in my cup or something, which I just found so funny. But because the idea is that they're meant to disintegrate. You
yeah,
use them to drink your drink because it's one use, and usually they start to wilt away towards the end of your drink, and then that should be normal in a way, because then it's starting to break down, and then it can be decomposed, whereas plastic straws are just there forever. They don't decompose.
yeah.
So
I
that is,
guess
plastic
it's
straws technically aren't single use.
no,
They're forever use is what they should
yes,
be, which is the kind of the yeah, it's but people still use them today. Like I think we tried to buy some metal straws because actually they're very cost effective, because you can
mm,
buy them cheap, and you've got a
yeah.
metal straw. You can take that wherever you go. They're so easy to buy. You put them in your
But
back.
if you get caught with one, that could be classed as a weapon.
Really,
Yeah.
really, really.
Because you've got this long object, right? You could stab that in an eye.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
There's things that's the problem. You carrying around something like that, you could be, you know what I mean? Police could go, oh, that's a weapon. So
Mm,
it becomes very problematic at times with some of
mm,
these things. And like
yeah,
having them again, when you're doing, events and stuff, and if you're doing a full decan, you couldn't have metal straws,
mm,
you
yeah,
know. So
yeah.
it's yeah, see these silly little things that we run into,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But, I mean, hopefully the message of plastic surgery is just a bit more of a heightening people's understanding of its effect on our health. And that's all it's really there to do, to be honest, is just to raise
Mm.
awareness again, of that topic, but in a different, unique way that is engaging, striking, entertaining, cinematic. And Anna, she she was brilliant in the film, and she's actually pregnant during the film as well.
So you didn't even have to.
Yeah, she was actually pregnant, which I guess makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Her performance, you can tell she's kind of tapping into something quite deep, because she was really pregnant. So I'm sure it was maybe quite easy for her to maybe tap into that role. So I ended up actually rewriting it around her when she got on board.
Nice. Like, what was that casting like? You know what I mean? Did you
Yeah.
have a particular, was it a man? Was it a woman? Like, you know what I mean? What were you thinking
I
about?
always knew it was to be a woman, because I wanted the character of Dr. Terra to represent Mother Nature.
Right.
So when you think of Mother Nature, you always generally feel of a mother, a female figure. And
Yeah.
then I realized, when Anna came on board and she said about her pregnancy, and, would I be able to, add that into the role? And it was kind of a brainwave moment, because, a pregnant woman really is the epitome of Mother Nature, someone carrying life, who's both vulnerable, fragile, but extremely innocent and extremely protective. And the fact that she's a doctor as well, she's there to save life, to protect life. So
Mm.
the symbolism of that really went hand in hand. And it also, what I love is horror these days. I mean, is just mind blowing. It's really going into another realm at the moment, where you've got these incredible writers like Zach Kreger and Ryan Coogler, like Weapons, Bring Her Back, the Philippines
Mm.
Brothers, Sinners, and making these, it's really well written, horror thriller narratives that have really good characters, complex characters, really deep cultural roots. And I think, you know, what's really exciting is you get these fantastic characters in horror that, you know, which are both extremely vulnerable, very relatable, but throwing them into these really chaotic kind of worlds of surreal worlds and events. And I love that. I mean, you know, with Weapons, the script and the story writing is amazing. With Sinners, you know, even at the Oscars, I think this is the first time you've had, you know, a supporting Oscar winner for Weapons, you know, a horror winning an acting award. Also, you know, Sinners winning all of the accolades is incredible for a horror, you know, to win best, you know, is a horror thriller to win best original screenplay. You know, it just shows that horror is now being taken seriously at the top of the critics kind of circle, and rightly so. You know, I just think it's getting better and better, and the actors, you
For
know, are really
sure.
excited about horror. Genre filmmaking is definitely on the rise at the moment. You know, which for me is really exciting because I love combining horror, you know, horror, environmental issues and stuff like that. So you know, I think a couple projects I've written after this one, my next one, are going to be linked to that, and you know, more along the lines of kind of body horror, environmental awareness. You know, so yeah, because I just think it's such a brilliant medium to speak through.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it comes down to storytelling.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because you have those horrors that are just slashers,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's just like, how can we make it bloodier?
yeah,
Right? And it's like, okay, right, that's perfect for a certain type of audience,
yeah,
right? Who is just looking for that. But story-wise,
yeah.
it's not that compelling.
No, no, and that's interesting you say. Have you seen Bring Her Back? Which is the
No,
film
no, no. I saw Talk to Me,
you've seen
which
Talk
was
to Me. So I'd
fucking just,
mental, right? Yeah.
oh boy.
No, then watch Bring Her Back, because I'd say they upped it to another level. If Talk to Me was scary and the acting again was brilliant, the device, the theme
Yeah,
around had the classic horror tropes, but Talk to Me is a whole nother ball game. I mean, you've got Sally Hawkins, who's the lead, who's just
right.
absolutely phenomenal, and it's all about grief. It's about, you know, what would you do? What, you know, how far would you go to bring your daughter back, you know, to life? And you know, it turns out she'll do some pretty dark things, but you know, the performance, and really it's very relatable. It's all about grief, really. You
Mm.
take grief and you push it, you know, to see how far people will go when grief is takes over their lives, and they just, all they can think about is getting that person back, or that feeling back, or something about themselves. And that's an interesting topic alone. So like, I'm trying to
Oh,
write a feature at the moment which is all about that, you know, trying to
mm.
regain, trying to recapture and relive a moment of this character's past, and what would they do to make that happen. And you know, and that pushes people to some pretty dark places, which is exciting to explore,
Mm.
you know, narratively, character wise, visually, story wise, you know, complexity with it. But yeah, it's a very exciting, yeah, very exciting prospect.
Yeah, I wanted to watch it, but there were no daytime screenings. And yeah, I remember I watched Talk to Me,
Yeah,
and for some reason I didn't think it was meant to be that crazy. So I went
yeah.
to a night screening, and walking back from the cinema, because the buses were crazy. And
Mm.
every second I was like, "Yo, what the fuck was?"
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
was just like, so I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that shit
yeah,
again."
yeah,
But there
yeah,
was, so I was like, I'm waiting for it to come
yeah,
on TV so I can watch it
yeah.
during the day.
Weapons is also one of those that really, like, just grabs you, and the story, actually, to be honest, the script for Weapons, I think is phenomenal. I mean, that is just the way that Zach was able to tell these different narratives and overlap them and build,
Mm,
and tell them from people's perspectives was just a really clever way of doing it, and really ties things in and fills in the gaps as you move on along the story. And he had, what was great is listening to some of his podcasts where he said, the setbacks that he had because all the cast, I think they lost one of their leads and then all the cast backed out or something happened. But the only actor that stuck with him originally was the actor who plays the junkie. He was the only one that kind of stuck with him when the project was potentially not going ahead, which was very exciting. But Kevin, I'm cautious. I'm going on to another call at 10. So we might need to
oh
wrap
shit!
up.
What's this? Yo, I didn't even realize that was the time, guy. I am wait. Okay, damn. Okay. Oh man. All right, guy. Let people know how they can follow you and check out plastic surgery.
Yes. So if you want to check out plastic surgery, you can look us up on Instagram at plasticsurgery_film. Or my tag is at Guy Trev. And then, my company, Nice Guy Pictures as well. So you can look up our website, niceguypictures.com. And then, all the information about the project is on there on socials. And we've got a link tree, which gives you a lot more links to research that's out there, medical research, plastic alternatives that you can buy for your everyday household on Amazon, easy, cheap items as well. So if you wanted to explore that, then there's a really good list of things that you can look at, which I only started purchasing when I did the film and realized how great they were. But yeah, so yeah, really great to talk to you, Kevin, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man. Let's when active learning is done and you're ready to talk, come back and we'll do something longer. We'll have
I'd love to, Kevin. Yeah. I'd love to do something longer. We do a proper hour chat and we can talk all about it because it's a really exciting project actually. So I'm keen to share that one with you as well.
Hey, after plastic surgery, man, I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next, man. So keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. I'll speak to you soon.
Take it easy.
Take care.